Hey guys, my name is Kevin Russell and welcome to my Java tutorial. Today we'll be looking at if statements, else if, else, and compound Boolean expressions, as well as case selects, random numbers, and math classes. So for this tutorial I have put all these into 4 different programs. So if statements, else if, else, and compound Boolean expression is into one program, case select is in its own program, random numbers are in its own program, and math classes are also in its own program. Alrighty, let's get started with the if statement, else if, else, and compound Boolean expressions. So let me just open up my program. So this is what my program will look like. I'm gonna actually run my program first, and then we can just go step by step through my program to see what happened. Alright, so it's gonna run. Just give it a quick second here. Alright, it seems to be loading, maybe. Okay, it says enter your average temperature for this week. Let's say it's pretty cool around here, so I'm gonna say 10 degrees. I wish my winters were this warm. Well, it's actually fall right now, and I can't wait for winter to come because I can't wait for that -50. Let's just run that again. Enter your average temperature for this week. Let's say we had a pretty cold day and we had -30. Jesus, you live in a cold temperature. Oh, well, yeah, I do. Alright, how about we live in, say, a really hot climate, say the desert, and my average temperature was 60 degrees. Are you living in... Okay, I'm not going to finish that. And yes, I do live in an extreme condition. We'll go back to why there's a second line here, but first I just want you to pay attention to this line. Notice how with every number, like every different number, there's a different prompt that is shown. So if we go back into our code, let's start at the very first package. So it says import java.util.scanner. If you've watched my previous video, you know that that's just retrieving the number that the user has given us. So then you would know what all of this did. I'm not going to go into too much depth because that's just in my previous video. Integer user, so that's pretty much like getting the integer that the user will give us. So then I labeled different, I didn't label, I set different variables as an integer and to set them as different values. So my first temperature would be -20, second would be -10, 0, 10, all of that, you get that. So this is my prompt, the enter your average number for this week with that system.out.println. So that's the prompt, which is right here, the enter your average temperature for the week. And then the next line, user equals input.nextInt bracket semicolon. That's what so like the next integer that the user gives us, the variable user will be set to that. Now this is where if statements come in. So an if statement is pretty much a conditional structure that will happen if like a certain criteria is met, right? So my first if statement, oh yeah, and very important, the code is read from up to down. So say if you had a program that says guess a number, and if the if statement was guess if the number is 2, say good job, and if the user guessed 2, it would read 2, like it would say good job, but then it would skip anything else that was under the if statement and go to the very last, like what to do with that prompt, pretty much, if that makes sense. I'll explain it a bit better. So first, the if statement, we would say if bracket user, so that this is what we set our like variable to, so this is any number that the user has given us, is less than, so this is a less than sign, the first temperature. Now what is the first temperature? Let's go back. So that's -20. So let's let's say this again. So if the user input is less than -20, that's pretty much first temperature, bracket. Now this is very important for formatting. You have to have two curly brackets against the conditional structure, and then you have to have another another bracket beside the system. So then this is a curly bracket. So we go system.out.println, just regular bracket. Jesus, you live in a cold temperature, bracket. So this will happen if the user input is less than -20. So let's try that out just for you to see. So let's say I go -21. Oh, sorry, my bad. I accidentally put it in the code. -21. Jesus, you live in a cold temperature. So is that the exact same prompt? Yes. So say if the user puts something above -20, say like -15. Well, that doesn't meet this criteria. So what the program does is it goes to the next like if statement, I guess. And so what this else if is, so yes, now we're on to else ifs. So what an else if is if the first criteria isn't met, or like the first if condition isn't met, it would go to the next else if. So it's like else if the user input is greater than or equal to first temp. Now what was first temp? -20. So if whatever the user gave us is equal to, so this is the equal to or greater than -20, and so this is where we get into compound Boolean expressions. So the two, I forget what these signs are called. When you put them together, it means an and. So an and statement means like if one criteria is met, you have to have another criteria that is also met for this to happen. So if user is greater than or equal to -20, which is first temp, and user is less than second. So what's second? Second is the second temperature, which is -10. So this will only happen if this condition is met. System.out.println, I couldn't even imagine living in the cold. Now let's try that. So what is a condition that is greater than or equal to -20 but less than -10? So that's -15, right? So yeah, I couldn't even imagine living in the cold. Exact same prompt. So we pretty much do that. So we pretty much use that format for every other else if. So if this else if isn't met, it would go to the very next else if. It wouldn't skip to the end. It would go to the very next else if. So we keep on doing that, right? We use these two for the and, so there needs to be two conditions that are met for this to run. So now we get to an else. So an else is if nothing. So say if you have an if statement, say if it's like you are asking the user to guess a number above 5, and you set the computer number to 10, and if the user guesses anything below 10, it would say, oh, go higher. So this is what this else statement is kind of. It's like that was a bad example, sorry, but an else is pretty much like if none of the conditions are met, do this. There we go. Yeah, do this. So what was our last condition? Else if condition. If the user is greater than or equal to 7th. So what's 7th? That's 40. And also 8. So what's 8? 50 is less than second. Oh, my bad. There was a mistake in there. I meant 7th. We on that ultra and 8. Oh no, that makes sense. Second. So if 8 is less than second, and what's second is -10. That doesn't make any sense. Give me 1 second here. If user is greater than or equal to 7th and eighth we don't really need this. Sorry about that. Yeah, so then if user is greater than or equal to 7th, this will happen. This is what summer is going to be like after global warming. So this statement will happen. So if we run this code again, so what's 7th? 40. So let's say it's 45. This is what summer is going to be like after global warming. That's right. All right. So then else if oh wait, no, my bad, I messed up here. And so then eighth, so then user is less than eighth. There we go. So then yeah, if user is so if the user is greater than or equal to 7, so 40, but is less than 8, this is what's going to happen. There we go. That's what happened. Else, so say if it meets none of that say if it meets none of the conditional like the conditions previous, so this can be like so say if it's a number greater than 50, it would print out, are you living in hell? So let's try that. Let's try 51. Oh, my bad. 51. Are you living in hell? And now, so that's the else. So like if none of the conditions happen, this else statement will happen. Now, there's another type of compound Boolean expression. Oh, right. So a compound Boolean expression is pretty much when a Boolean, there are two like expressions. So like this and or. So like, when we had it, this and, so that means that there's two conditions that needed to be met. So this is the or. It's just like two lines. So it says if the user is less than -50, or this is what the or is, user is greater than 50, the system it would say you live in an extreme condition. So let's try that. So what is a condition that is less than -50 but greater or not and or greater than 50? So -50 or 50. So let's say -75. Oh my god, my bad. I keep on making this silly mistake. -75. So we can just avoid that because that's the first condition. If the user is less than first temperature, Jesus, you live in a cold temperature. We've already went through that, but this is the second. You live in an extreme condition. Is that true? So yes, if the user is less than -50, or if the user is greater than 50, this will happen. So what happens if we put in like 30? That prompt didn't show up. All right, so I hope that you understood the first program. So let's go back onto our thing. So yes, we covered if statements, the else ifs, the else's, and the compound Boolean expressions. Those are the and or. So now is the case select. Now, some people find that case select. Let me just pull this up right here. So some people find that case select is easier than writing out all this if statements. Others find this is harder because you have to write down each and every thing. Like you can't like have like I don't want to confuse you guys anymore. This is much neater. This is way neater than the if and else if statements. So let's actually run this code and see What? So enter what grade you got on the last quiz. Let's say I entered in 85. I mean, it's not that bad. Yeah. Okay, so now that you've seen what it does, let's go back and let's look at. So let's start at the package. Import java.util.scanner. So pretty much it's just getting the stuff. We know all this. The int score. Int score is pretty much what's the user input is gonna be. We're gonna skip over to them. So now switch. So this pretty much makes it so that any number, so like our integer or our variable, so this switch bracket score bracket, so it's pretty much like it's a case select. So whatever the score is, it picks a case. Now cases are pretty weird and awesome at the same time. So case 0 means that if the user put in a number 0 as the score, then it would go system.out.println God, you did bad, and break. So what this break does is it means that it stops there. It doesn't repeat for if the user does 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So that's where this comes in. So if it goes case 1 and there's nothing there, case 2, nothing there, case 3, nothing there, all the way up to case 25. But I'll come back to that. So if I put 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to 25, it would say you really need to get a tutor, break. So what this break does is it incorporates every other case previously that does not have a break in. So after this, all of this, so if the user put any of these numbers in, it would say you really need to get a tutor. So now what's special about case select is you need to do every single number. If the number isn't initialized in this case 8, case 7, case 6, it doesn't exist. So I did this. I didn't do 100 because that would take way too long. So let's say it goes up to case 8. So let's say if we did case 9, watch what happens. Nothing happens because there is no case 9. But let's see what happens when I put a case 8. So if I put the number 8 in, you really need to get a tutor because it is initialized. The score, it goes to number 8. So then 8 doesn't have a break. So then it goes to the next break and it does this. You really need to get a tutor. So then that's pretty much it. So then I would go so say if I got 50, it would go system.out. I mean, that's not a fail. You need to study. Pretty simple stuff. Just remember about the case. So whatever. So it takes whatever value is stored at the next break, pretty much. So the you really need to get a tutor is the value, I would say. And it's in the next break. So then case 2 would go to this. So it doesn't go backwards, it goes forwards. So that's pretty much case select. All right, now let's go back to that. Case select, check mark, random numbers. All right, let me pull my random numbers. Random numbers is really easy. So first I have the import java.lang.math. So that pretty much gets the math class from Java. I'll talk about more of that in my next program. So pretty much for a computer to generate random numbers, you just need to know a formula. So I have it here, right here. I don't know if you can see that. That might be a bit too thing. So pretty much it's high num. So whatever your high number is minus the lowest number plus 1 times math.random, so that randomizes it, plus your lowest number. So say if you want to just get a random number, you would go, without doing all of this, you would go system.out.println, and this is just saying what the random number plus math.random. So this gives you a random number. But the special thing about this is that it only gives you a random number with lots of decimal places between 0 and 1. It will never give you 5.567 or 9.9. It would give you something like 0.1796, something like that. Now, say if you wanted a you wanted a parameter. Say if you wanted you wanted between 20 and 15, the number between 20 and 15. It would go, okay, so what's the formula? Your high num, so that's 20, minus your lowest num, which is 15, plus 1 times math dot random, so this randomizes the numbers, plus your lowest num, which is 15. So the thing about this, the random numbers, is that you can have 20.72657. You can have any decimals after the 20, but you just cannot have 21. So let's try this out. So if I press thing, so my random number, of course, it appears from 0 to 1. So any number from 0 to 1. First number, I just did another parameter. I did, I believe, 10 and 5. So now this is my second. So this is the one I was just talking about, the second parameter. So this is it between 20 and 15? Well, yes, it's 18, right? So that means that it is. So let's run that again. So now we got completely different numbers. So we got 16 this time. So it is being randomized. So that right there is random numbers. All right, and now for our final thing, which is math classes. So let me just open this up. Let me open up math class. I don't know why I named it math classes and Boolean expressions. It's just math classes. So pretty much Java includes the math class in the java.lang. So yeah, so the java.lang package for performing many math functions, such as like exponential or like exponents and like the square roots. So how you do this is, first for a package you have to go import java.lang.math. So this retrieves the math package. So now right here I've just initialized some like integers. So I've said 12, 14, 6, 81. And then I've also made some doubles, which are numbers that can hold decimal places, which is 7.7 and 3. That should be really 3.0. Alright, so now I would go system.out.println. So to find the absolute value of a number, you would go the first number. Oh, wait, sorry. This is saying the absolute value of first num, which is 12, plus is. So what you would do to find the absolute number is go math.abs bracket first num. So this means that, so the ABS gets the absolute value of the first number, which is 12. So then, but that's just an integer. What about a number with a decimal place? Well, the absolute value of 1 plus, so now we are going for a number with a decimal place, 7.7, which is 1. So if we go math.abs, the absolute value of 1, which is 7.7, people would expect that it would be just 7. However, the absolute value of 7.7 is actually 7.7. So this tells us something. This tells us that the absolute values can contain an integer. Or not an integer, a decimal place. Alrighty, so what else could we do with this math class? We could go system.out.println all of this stuff. 2, so this is the power of. So the variable 2, which is 3.0, to the power of the first num. So what is that? So that's 3 to the power of 12. So how we do power is math.pov, so the power. So not POV, POW. So that's math.power or POW bracket. So now we have to have two numbers because we have to go something to the power of something. So we have to go the first number, which is 12. Sorry, I mixed it up. It's 12 to the power, so then we go comma, to the power of what? To the power of 3. So what's that saying? That's 12 times 12 times 12. So if we go, so that's, to reiterate, that's math dot to the power of 12, so that's 12 to the power of 3. So 12 to the power of 3 is 1728.0. So why it's at 0 is because we initialized this as a double, so it will have a decimal place. If you don't believe me, I can pull up calculator for us right here. Give me 1 second. I'll let that load up. And while I'm letting that load up, oh wait, I thought it would take a little bit longer. So 12 to the power of 3, so that's 12 times 12 times 12, which is 1728. Is that what we got? 1728. So that is. So say if you want to find the square root of a number. So to find that, we would go math. So we're returning the math class dot sqrt. That means the square root of what number? The fourth number. So the fourth number is 81. So quickly doing math, if you can think 81 to, the square root of 81 is 9. So is that true over here? Yes, the square root of 81 is 9. So just to bring it all back, math.absolute value, or ABS is the absolute value. It can have decimal places. To find the power, we have to go POW, and then the first number to the power of the second number. And then to find the square root, we have to go .sqrt, and then we have to go bracket and whatever number we want to square root. Alright, I believe that's everything. Yep, that's math classes right there. We went through round numbers, and yeah, that's about everything. I really hope you enjoyed my tutorial, and I'll see you next time for my third tutorial. Bye-bye.